A very warm welcome. A very warm welcome to all of you. We are doing a recap of chapter 2, and we spoke about the possibilities of happiness in this material world. And today we are going to go a little deeper, and it's an activity we would do today to reflect on what's going on actually. Right? Sometimes when we are running and we keep on running, we don't even question why we are running or where we are running, or how did this running start to begin with, right? And where it's going to take us. So we're going to reflect on that today, and then time permitting, we will see if we can. We have a hard stop at 10 today. So we're not going to do the recitation of shloka. I'll do that, and then we move on directly to the discussion part of it. And also, time permitting, we will go then past that and see that some of the concepts that I introduced yesterday, the advanced concepts around the different possibilities of bliss in the spiritual realm. So we are going to start peeling layers around that as well, one step at a time, but not in a hurry, by reflecting and getting answers from you itself. Okay. Sometimes when we are participating in something, right, it's like they said, when you're inside the box, sometimes you have to go outside the box to even know that you're inside the box, right? Otherwise, that box becomes your world. Nyay Kup Nyay Mandu. Koop Manduk Nyay, right? They say that if you continue to live in a well, that becomes your world. And then you say, I'm living in a well and all is well. And that continues, right? So this is something we are going to talk about today. So let me share my screen. We will get started with invoking the blessings of God and Guru, like we always do. So give me a sec. By the way, it's getting cold here, which is both good and bad. So what it means is that first of all, we'll have to start wearing pullovers. And secondly, I think the earth starts tilting a little bit towards sun or away from the sun, because of which the time zone starts shifting as well. So from November 6th, you will, in India, I mean, for us, we will get an extra hour to sleep in the morning. But for people in India, what it means is that the session would start 1 hour later. For some, it will be good. For some, it will be bad. And I'm going to get feedback and messages saying, can we move it back to the same time? And some will say, no, can we do it, maybe 30 minutes late? I'm going to tell you, sun is not going to listen to us. Okay. So that will continue for next 6 months. So let's understand that, and let me share my screen now and we will get started. All right. Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Guru Devo Ishwaraha, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsa Chanuramardan Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. Radhe Radhe, welcome again. Am I audible or my voice is feeble? Can somebody give me a feedback? Is it all right?
It's good.
Perfect. All good.
Yeah. Okay. Great. That's good to know. I got one of the feedbacks that my voice is very feeble. So it might be audio on your side. Okay, if that's the case, because at least I got a thumbs up from most of you that my voice is all right. So let's get started. So this is a shloka we are on. I'm going to recite it and then we'll continue. Today we will not do the recitation. So sorry to disappoint you, Radhe Shyamji. We'll continue. Today we have a lot to discuss today, and we have a hard stop at 10 as well. I'll quickly recite it, or maybe we can pick up 2 hands. We can make a discount offer. Yada te moha kalilam buddhir vyatitarishyati tada gantasi nirvedam Shrotavyasya Shrutasya cha. Okay, we'll pick three hands and then we'll move on.
Yeah, Radhe Radhe. We'll pick 3 video on, cameras on.
All
so
right.
Sam,
Okay.
Radhe Radhe.
राधे राधे। यदा ते मोहकलिलं बुद्धिर्व्यतितरिष्यति तदा गन्तासि निर्वेदं श्रोतव्यस्य श्रुतस्य च। राधे राधे।
Samji, good to see you back. Two
So
more
usually
hands.
cameras on, guys. So I do not know what to do. So Ashutosh ji, Radhe Radhe.
There you go. Camera is on now.
Yada te, yes. Yada te moha kalilam buddhirvertitarishyati tada gantasi nirvedam srotavyasya srutasya cha.
Wonderful, Ashutosh ji. Last but not the least, I see one more camera. Teji.
Vijay Kumar ji, Radhe Radhe.
Yeah, Radhe Radhe. Yada te moha kalilam buddhirvyatitarishhyati.
Did we lose Udayji? Okay,
I
so
guess.
it's not just me then. So maybe we can pick Ramesh ji to complete the shloka to make up for the lost voice of Udayji. Yes, Ramesh ji, please go ahead. Last one.
Yada te moha kalilam buddhi vyatitarishyati tada gantasi nirvedam shrotavyasya shrutasya cha.
Thank you, Ramesh ji. Very nice. All right, so let's get started. So in this shloka, Lord Krishna is telling that when your intellect crosses the quagmire of delusion, see, it is qualified with the word quagmire. Quagmire, right? In Hindi, it is called dal dal. You know, the harder you try, the more you get sucked into it. And that is how our delusion is being caused. In fact, Vedavyas in Brahma Sutra, he said that very clearly. He says that Ajnanamevasya Mool Karanam. Basically, the problem that humanity or as humans we are facing is ignorance. Ignorance is the cause of all the other problems. The first problem, ignorance, happens when we consider ourselves as a body. And then it's like a mathematics equation you're trying to solve and you have made a mistake at the very first step. Now you continue to make the mistake and it becomes compounding mistake. Now the bodily relatives, they become our priority. We forget that we are a soul and everything that we do is catered around taking care of this body and catering to these senses. Why did it happen to begin with? Ignorance, forgetting what our true identity is. And the whole purpose of spirituality is reclaiming our identity. Let's get back to understanding who we are. What is this whole drama that we have created? And then start seeing it in perspective. Instead of participating, you start looking at it as a spectator. And then participate mindfully. That's all spirituality is all about. Okay. And then he says, you will then acquire indifference to what has been heard and what is yet to be heard. About enjoyments in this world. And the next why is he saying what has been heard, because part of it is with our awareness we see, oh wow, what a nice vacation this person is having, oh how successful this person is, who must be happy, or how much influence these people have. So that is something that we hear and perceive based on our current standing in our human life, right? Based on the situation that we are subject to. And what is yet to be heard is something that we will anyway get to know, that through our knowledge, and then anyway we get to experience when we move on to different kind of lives based on our karma. But the key point here is these enjoyments in this world and the next is what we looked at it. In the greater detail, we'll do a quick recap and then we will get into, it's a very reflective exercise today that we are going to take upon. Okay, so participate, really think hard. Okay, the key purpose of spirituality is to confront your secret stash. All of us have a secret stash that is there within us. Okay, and that secret stash has to be known, uncovered, so that we can do something about it. Guru is the one who confronts it immediately. But until we meet a guru, what do? Simply wait? No. Mindfully, let's try to acknowledge that stash and start doing something about it. Okay, so let's continue now. So today we are going to talk about this happiness is what we spoke about yesterday. We continue to chase it, but it keeps on running away from us. It seems elusive. It's like living on 99. The cricketer, no matter how many runs he scores, if he has not scored that century, people will forget it. Okay, they'll count you or your success through your centuries that you have made. Okay, so that living on 99, that one elusive run, we think if we get that, we'll have that aha. But unfortunately, that never happens. So why does that not happen? We then looked at the false promise of Maya, right? Maya gives us a promise that something wonderful is going to happen in our life. Not today, but tomorrow. Not tomorrow, then day after. Not with me, but somebody else. Only if I have it, it will happen. Okay, these are all hallucinations that your mind is creating. Scriptures tell us very clearly, in no uncertain terms, it's not going to happen. You can extract oil out of sand, but you cannot extract happiness out of this material world that your soul needs to say, I've gotten it finally. This is what I was looking for, not going to happen. Then we looked at the happiness in perspective. We are not even having favorable circumstances, situations, subjects aligned to us, good health, permanent youth, lot of opulences, ability to travel, luxuries, power, everything. So we have not even tasted 1 unit of perfect happiness even on this Mrityulok. Still we are happy with the small droplets that we are getting. I'll not get into that story. And these are the possibilities of the extent of happiness then somebody can experience. Okay. So that puts our happiness, whatever happiness we are enjoying right now, or our mind is leading us to believe it's going to be good enough for us, is actually insignificant at this point. Then we went on to see that the bliss, we have no choice but to seek. Nobody can say they are not seeking bliss. And interestingly, ironically, we do contradictory activities to get that bliss. What contradictory activities? We sleep because it's blissful for us. Then we get up because it is blissful for us. If you keep on sleeping, then your body may start hurting, right? Then you get up. You eat because it is blissful, then you stop. You say it is no longer blissful, I have to stop, my stomach will start hurting. You hug somebody because it is blissful. After that, you say, okay, enough of it, because it's no longer blissful. You watch a movie because it is blissful, and then you stop watching that because you've had enough of that plot and that storyline, no more suspense that Kajol is the murderer, right? So every activity that we do is not satiating us, right? And through our experience, we know that this bliss is not what my soul was seeking for, but the direction in which we seek bliss is something is well within our control. But you're still not satisfied, I know that, okay? You say no. Maybe not you, I have extracted bliss and I have a good reason to believe that there is some kind of a happiness in this world. And that is where we're going to spend a bit of a time today, right? And we saw the material bliss over time. There are 3 things. It diminishes. Like there's a law in economics. It says law of diminishing returns. It diminishes over time. You cannot sustain that bliss. Right? No matter which party you did last, you said, wow, what a wonderful time I had yesterday. And today what happened? No, today I'm feeling okay. Where did that bliss go? So scriptures say bliss should be something that once it comes, it should never go. That is the true bliss. Then it should always remain fresh. It's not like it starts becoming stale. And it should be infinite in extent. If it is finite in extent, you will say, no, I still need more. Okay, so these are the 3 parameters of bliss that are given. And our scriptures tell us that is divine bliss, okay, which we have not tasted. And we continue to talk about it theoretically. But I'm telling you that people who have been doing sadhana for a while, who started practicing spiritual principles, and who are in seva, they feel that droplets of that bliss. And so much so that sometimes it tends to explode. Okay, they are ready to take off. It can happen because that's the only bliss. Their soul will say, now something is happening. Right? Now people say, what kind of boring life these people lead, all the time going to satsang, doing Radhe Radhe, but they have no clue that all the potlucks, parties, and self-created agendas that they have created, they are actually tiring themselves out. So they are big renunciates, tyagis, material tyagis, and thinking these people who go to temple are tyagis. This is the irony of life, because they have chosen happiness, real bliss, and these people, they are still trying to experiment around in the world and trying to create bliss out of it. So a person, let's say somebody has two shoes, pair of shoes. One is an old pair of shoe which hurts on the feet, and the other one is hearing a new pair of shoes which is very, very comfortable. Which one is a renunciate? The one which is wearing an old. And people who continue to invest their time, energy, emotion, thoughts in the world to extract that perfect bliss, one day they will get through some relationships or whatever they are seeking. They are actually big renunciates because they are rejecting the real happiness actually in God and works related to God. I mean, it is not theoretical. Only when you experience, you get engaged in it and you start experiencing it, it said the proof is in the pudding. So try it out, and if it doesn't work, the default option world is anyways there, right? So even if you start aligning to some of the principles, like we spoke about Karam Yoga, or God talks about being equanimous, don't go too far in either direction like a pendulum. If you simply start practicing those principles, you'll understand that joy, that calmness, that peace, that bliss, all the things that you're craving for, they start increasing their intensity within your mind. All right, so let's get into the discussion point today. So these are the things we spoke about. So today we are going to talk about, are we going further or we are just going in circle? You know, this guy, let's say the trajectory is defined for this guy, the blue path. Is he really going to get somewhere here other than going here and there and pretty much here only, right? Let's talk about this concept. It's a very important concept, and this is where I want you to start. Wear your thinking caps, be honest, be upfront, and let's get the discussion going. And I'm going to pose some questions here. Okay, it's a good way to reflect on this concept, and then if we are able to conclude our discussion, then I'll move forward with the other blisses that I introduced yesterday. So let's get started. Okay, no choice but to seek. We have spoken about this. So these are the two blisses, two directions basically. Now let's get to the question part of it here. So which activity will take us past going in circles of material creation? We looked at the material creation all the way, right? It goes up to the Brahmalok. Now let's look at some of the activities and question ourselves. Okay, each one of us has actually engaged or continues to engage in that. Sense gratification. If we gratify our senses, whatever it is, sense of touch, sense of taste, sense of smell, sense of hearing, is it going to take us past this circle? Let's say there is one particular thing that you really love. It could be something eating. Any senses, can it take us past? Let's hear that. Or tourism and experiences, for example, that is also part extended sense gratification. Doesn't go beyond that. Okay, it is a higher level of sense gratification where you are seeking sattvic happiness, going close to the nature, doing tours and travels, right? These days there's a punchline: don't accumulate things, accumulate experiences. All right, you're accumulating experiences. But has anybody told you that by accumulating experiences, you are going to win the Olympics after death and it will take you to pass the cycle of life and death? Anybody who wants to do that? Then the next set, I'm going to pose all the questions together and then we can get into that. The next line is isms, starting with patriotism. Okay, this is the one which evokes the most strongest emotions in everybody. Okay. Now, this is a great noble sentiment, but has anybody told that if you do that, it is going to take you past the cycle of life and death? That is again a question to be asked. Right? Sense of duty, if you do that, Lord Krishna tells Arjuna, go ahead and do that. You have laddus in both of your hand. Why? Because when you do it with a sense of duty towards your country, fellow man, right? Or of your praja, it is also basically an extending patriotism only in a way, right? What do you get? You get celestial abodes. Is celestial abode beyond material realm? It is not. Then what other isms are there? Marxism, communism, capitalism, socialism. These kind of isms are there. People spend their entire life attaching to one of the isms and making it the agenda of their life. Marxism is the way to go. The distribution of wealth. Socialism is the way to go. Meritocracy is the way to go. All these isms are again something that are limiting. Okay, you can make it an agenda, help out people, great. But is there a promise in our scriptures? If there is, I would like to know from it. If anybody feels strongly about it, which part of Bhagavad Gita or scripture says that if you do that, it will take you past the cycle of life and death? If you come back and say, no, I don't care about it, I'm happy doing it, that's a different discussion. But let's understand which scripture or where does it state if you do that, you have made your life a success. Yes, you have. You have gone to a celestial abode. Also, the premise there is you have done it without bitterness and resentment. But beyond that, who says that it will take you past the cycle of life and death, which is the primary aim of human life? Then, familism. Limiting ourselves to our family, raise kids, family, be responsible, make them the best, as possible, as best as you possibly can do. And that is the purpose of life. Right? A lot of people think that is the whole purpose of life. What else is there? And there was a guy who was traveling with, when Swami Vivekananda was coming to US for the Chicago conference, there was a guy who was traveling along with him. So they were having a discussion, and then Swami Vivekananda thought, let me engage him and show him the broader picture around what he's trying to do, because this guy was going on about telling what he wants to do and why he's going to US and stuff. So he asked him this question: what are you going to US for? He said, I'm going to go for my bachelor's studies. He said, what will you do after your bachelor's studies? He said, I'll come back to India and clear ICS exam. ICS used to be a big exam in the days of Britishers, because it's more like IS those days. He said, good enough. Then what are you going to do after ICS? He said, then I'll find a good girl and get married to her. He said, good. Then what are you going to do? Then he said, I'm going to do social and economic progress. I'll earn money, I'll buy a house, I'll buy a car, I'll develop my economic status, social status, do a lot of potlucks with friends and family, meet them, handshakes, right? Go to their marriages, go to my son's niece, brother's, Tayaji's marriage. That is also an obligation on us. So I'll do all that stuff. He said, okay, good. Then what are you going to do? He said, then I'm going to raise kids. He said, okay, good. Then he said, I'm going to marry them off. He said, then I'm going to get my provident fund and retire. He said, okay. And then he said, then what? Then I'll die. So then Swami Vivekananda said, is that all the planning of your human life is? Do all this and die? Is that what human life is all about? So if you fundamentally break down the activities this guy spoke about, it just boils around these 4 activities: Ahar, Bhay, Nidra, and Maithun. Ahar means feeding. You eat food every day. Animals also do. Right? In fact, the quantum of happiness they get by eating grass, the happiness that cow gets, we get the same happiness by eating rasgulla, gulab jamun, jalebi, or tandoori naan and whatever. And cow does not even have to worry about getting cholesterol or stuff like that, or sugar or diabetes. So they are much, much more better served than us. Then what is the next? Ahar, then Nidra. We sleep. Animals also sleep. We sleep on a Dunlop mattress. They also sleep. A dog gets the same happiness sitting on a bare floor, which we get sitting on a very well-furnished mattress. Ahar, Nidra, Bhay. Bhay means fear. Why do we do our bank balances, insurances, provident funds? Insecurity, financial insecurity. So we defend ourselves through money and other means, through house, shelter. Okay, the hurricane will come, so I'll get protected and stuff like that. So these all things are done to take care of our insecurities. And what's the next one? Maithun. Maithun is procreation. And humans create babies and animals do the same. In fact, animals can create multiple 10 babies also in one shot. So these 4 activities, there's absolutely no difference between us and animals. In fact, we are living an animalistic life in a deluxe way. Essentially, that's what it is. Okay? So the point here is, if we spend our life just around these activities, now other one is charity. Has anybody, if you have picked up a charity or a noble cause in your life, right? Red Cross, orphanage, helping poor, helping refugees, anybody in the scripture says it will take you past the cycle of life and death? Nowhere it says that. At best, that activity could be sattvic. What is the result of sattvic? Bhagavad Gita says celestial abodes. What happens after celestial abodes? It's a withdrawal only account. You come back to Earth? Not necessarily. You can become a Scorpio and anything. 8.4 million is open for you. Furthermore, these are all the activities we do. Money. We run after money. You think that's going to give us happiness? If you look at the graph of the GDP of the world from 80s or 90s onwards till date, the GDP has increased of the entire world. However, the happiness quotient has decreased overall. You know, which is the 6th most happiest nation in the world? Not 6th most, the most happiest nation in the world in the survey that was conducted, I think, in early 2000s. It is Bangladesh, which is the 6th most poor country in the world. That means there is no correlation of money with happiness. Bill Gates, Warren Buffett, they have reached the pinnacle of earning money and they're giving it back because it's still not giving them the satisfaction or the happiness that they thought it would give them the day they will become millionaire or billionaire, right? Doesn't give you that. So money does not give you that. Power, does it give you? Of course not. It is temporary. In fact, you have to take sleeping pills to know which other person is going to, cause manhani or any other court case or going to speak against me on the TV channel. It's not a straightforward thing. Okay? And it is definitely not going to give you a ticket past cycle of life and death. Third thing, fame. Fame is even more bigger incarceration, right? People who are in this industry, you may think they are getting adulation, clicks, paparazzi and all that stuff, but they are very lonely from inside. It's very difficult to lead that life. Rajesh Khanna, in one of his birthdays, he came to his balcony and started crying. Why? Because in his heydays, people would throng. In fact, he was probably barred from wearing a black dress. The girls would die for him. So swooning fans, it just goes away one day. Jim Morrison, he had so much of fame at the age of 30, early 30s, that he ended his life. Why? Because he thought there's absolutely nothing to achieve in life and it's downhill from here on. And definitely, if you become famous, God does not say, wow, you were so famous, here is your ticket to Golok or Saket Lok. Of course not. On the contrary, all these things have become our sanskars. And we have dug a pit for ourselves because next time when we will repeat, the mind is the same. Mind is not going to get reset. So all the things, the tendencies and propensities, they get stuck with us and we'll have to unlearn it through, cleaning our antakaran and coming in contact with the proper guru and proper knowledge and then telling our mind, no, it is not important. It is not important because your tendency will say, no, it is important. You will crave for these things because in your past lifetimes, you were probably a superstar and it used to so much of adulation around. So now these are some of the things. It's not all inclusive, of course. Now tell me any of the things that gives us happiness, which is not covered here beyond that, and we know for a fact it is going to make our life successful. Anybody? Let's get the discussion going. Okay. Left-hand side is something which basically all these things are making us repeat here and there only. But I would like to hear from people because they may have an alternate opinion on it, right? They say, no, we have a good game plan around this and we have a good reason to believe that, if we spend life thinking or making one of these aspirations, it is a successful life. So that's where we want to have a bit of a discussion today. Yes, let's hear from a few participants. And then I'll get into another aspect.
Yeah. Even on second thoughts, don't we all know that these all things are fake? At the back of our mind, we all know these things are fake. And still we strive for it.
So, Shyamji, this is a good thing. There is a difference between janana and manana. हम जानते हैं, but मानते नहीं.
Yeah.
Okay, let's hear.
Yeah. Shiramya ji, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe, Nitin ji.
Radhe,
Except I'm able to convince myself with all of this, except one thing. Because I've had this travel, I've had tourism, charity, and all, and I know that it's not that happiness, but I still, in spite of all the classes and Chintan Manan, I still fail to understand family. It only I feel that if it's the genuine love, the bonding that we have in the family, be it with the parents or kids, it'll only increase our love to God. So how family is not. I mean, how it disrupts us. This I'm not able to reconcile. But rest all is fine.
No, that's a very fair question. Familism means when we get hung up in family things only, we make it an agenda of our life alone. Sure, we need to be responsible. Spirituality is not saying cut all these things. It's saying these are all powers of God, right? This entire world is a veritable form of God. Isha Vasedam Sarvam. Everything is a veritable, and there's a reason why you have given all of these things, energy of God, including the family and the supporting ecosystem that you get around us. Problem happens when we start thinking as mine, my relatives. Okay, if you have love for your parents, do you have an equal love for other older people as well? Or is it just limited to your parents alone? If you have love for your kid, do you get the same sensation or feeling when you look at another kid in the neighborhood who's there on the streets? No, why can't we expand that bubble? So spirituality says basically that you look at it in perspective. They are people who are given to you so that you can progress on this path. You take them along and look at it in perspective. But we get so deeply attached with that, so deeply attached that they become the cause for our repetition in this world. Okay, and not many people are needed for us to repeat in this world, to make us repeat in this world. One or two. In every life we find that. It could be our son, it could be our daughter, it could be our spouse, it could be that friend. It could be anybody in this world that makes us repeat here. It could be a pet also, for that matter. They're all material, right? So yes, loving them, being responsible for them, caring for them is all good. But the problem happens when you start thinking of mine and then you say, you have that attachment, and then the fear comes from attachment only, right? And all those things is what Krishna is saying. If you have to think anybody Nati, it's just me, nobody else. God is the true Sambandhi. When you become a dog or a donkey or an ant or a scorpion, is any of your family member along with you, coming with you because they loved you so much or you loved them so much? They will not. They cannot. Right? It's a beggar asking another beggar for money. They cannot even give you happiness. So we have to look at it in perspective. And you have done that love for different people in different lifetimes with the same intensity, thinking they are mine. So just has to be looked at in perspective. It's like that train travel. You become very buddy and pally and friends with everybody. But everybody's in that journey with their own ticket. When their station will come, they'll get down. Will you accompany them? No. You have your own destination. Will they stay back for you? No. Right? The son only put the bonds on father's, thing when this happens. That is the reality of the world. Nobody can accompany you, and nobody has an ability to give you the happiness that you thought you will get here. Your mind might be tricking you, but that happens. And it's not the same set of mother, father, relatives that you get in every life. They are just roles that are given to you in every lifetime. And you become so attached to them that they become the cause of our repetition here. Because we are not convinced that happiness was not here. But continue to be responsible, but with perspective is what we need to get better at. Yes, quite a few other hands are raised. Let's take the next question.
Yeah, Himani ji, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe. So I this is the question, right? I think the answer to this question is that all of these activities are going to take us in circles of material creation, because they either lead to pleasure of the senses or to attachment. And in case of charity, if it's done with a sense of doership and pride, then it is also not spiritual in nature. So all these activities are included.
Good, great point. But if we are happy, we are saying, no, I'm good, I enjoy it, then fine. God is saying, I'm in no hurry, be my guest. I've seen you since eternity. A couple of million lifetimes will not make any difference for me. So it's a choice we have to make. God has given that complete, like an indulgent father. He said, okay, be my guest. If you're not convinced, take another life, give another shot. You wanted to, really help your prime minister and president with the deeds that they are doing. Let me make you their cabinet minister, or maybe give you a role. And if it gives you the satisfaction that you were looking for in life, be my guest. So it just continues repeating lifetime after lifetime. So unless we are progressing spiritually, we are getting closer to the real goal of life. We are just getting entrenched further in this world is essentially the thing. Let's take few more hands, but great point, Himani. Thank you for sharing that.
Saira ji,
Yes,
Radhe Radhe. I think this question sort of already got covered, but I was wondering, like, dhan seva versus charity.
Yes.
If you could clarify how we should be exactly thinking when you do dhan seva and not unconsciously end up doing charity because of our thought process. I guess you should not do charity. You should not do any donation, so to speak, by keeping in mind any, I guess, empathy. You should do it. Is that the case? I mean, I just kind of want to.
Let me explain the point. So, charity is a noble act. Right? It is something more than about yourself. So, it is a noble act. However, this act is also not perfectly directed. Why? I'll tell you that. I'll give you another example of Mother Teresa. They spoke about that. So when she was asked, this is my favorite, one of my favorite examples, because the act is the same. The consciousness makes all the difference here, right? The Karam Yoga aspect that we were talking about. Now she was asked, how can you get yourself to serve these lepers who are despicable? So if you look at a leper, they lose that sensation, and you know how their bodies are. People can't even get to see them, forget about touch them or serve them. And she spent her life serving them. She was doing her charity, right? She was doing charity in her own way. Now, charity is also of three types: dhan, tan, and man. And man is the highest one. Dhan is the lowest one. You start with dhan, and then eventually the hope is that it will lead you to your man to be in the service or the charity. But anyways, coming back to the example, she was asked, how do you get to serve them? Now, her response was classic. She said that I'm serving. See, for you, it might be that you are serving the lepers. She said, I'm serving my Jesus, okay, as an instrument. So basically, when she was serving the lepers, she was serving Jesus, her God. Now, for us, if we are doing a charity, thinking that I am doing it, first of all, having a sense of doership, or doing it and then silently patting our back, you know how great I am or how great I did, then it becomes a sattvic charity at that point. And sattvic charity leads us to celestial abodes. And celestial abodes is called a golden jail, golden shackles. Same charity when you say, okay, God, thank you. You made me an instrument. Gratitude to you. You chose me to get somebody else helped. And when you do that as a service to God for His pleasure, relinquishing the fruit of that, then it becomes gunatit or shuddha sattva charity. That will take you closer to God, and you are aligning to the principle of Karam Yoga. I hope that makes the answer a little clear. So doing charity is not a problem, but when you do it with a sense of doership, not for the pleasure of God, then it is binding, because sattva is also binding. Bhagavad Gita, I said, right? Quran ends at don't be bad. Bible ends at be good. Bhagavad Gita tells us being good is not good enough, because good is still sattva. And Bhagavatam tells us forget about even the moksha. Bhagavad Gita ends at moksha. Bhagavatam says leave aside dharam, karam, arth and moksha. Now let's enter the depths of bhakti. And Chaitanya Charitamrita talks about the levels of bhakti. What is Nishkam Bhakti? What are the different rasas of bhakti that I'm going to talk about in next slide, time permitting, of course. I hope I answered your question a little bit, Sai Ramji.
He's not there. Yes, I guess yes, it is fine.
Okay, I hope it said that if you can't convince them, confuse them. So I hope I didn't confuse them. So
no doubt.
Okay. All right, let's take a couple of more hands and then we move forward.
Yeah, Lakshmi ji, Radhe Radhe.
So the question here is, any of these things has enabled, can any of the places scriptures say which will get us past the circle of life and death? And that's a question we're taking. So Lakshmi ji, your next one, and then we'll take real quickly a couple of more.
Yeah, Radhe Radhe everyone. If it comes to power, and if you're using for a good purpose, selfless work, so does it comes into the same thing, or?
Anything in this world has to fall into three categories only. So if you are using your power for selfless work like Robin Hood or bhais, right? A lot of bhais and mafia dons are there in India. There is still an element that intention is not entirely pure. Okay, let's say hypothetically it is pure. They are doing it for their helping. Now, if they're helping, if their ego is telling them I'm so great, then also it's in sattva. Okay, so they have not gone beyond the sattva. If they are doing for the pleasure of God, then only becomes shuddha sattva. So no matter what you do, at best you can get to sattva, not beyond that. And that is not good enough for us. to take us
Same thought in God's conscious. That's it.
God conscious, for the pleasure of God. That is the consciousness we have to build. And that's where we said, right, Karam Yog 2.47 shloka is something worthy of practicing 24/7, because it takes us closer to the God consciousness, which is what Lord Krishna is saying, Sarveshu Kaleshu Mam Anusmar. Sarveshu Kaleshu is saying. So there are three symptoms, right? Nan, N-A-N you can remember, Nirantarta, Ananyata, and Nishkamta. These three things we have to do. Nirantarta means continuity. Ananyata means exclusivity. God is very perfectionist. He says exclusively me. It's not like you have your family, kid, husband, 10 other things and then me as well. He said me and only me and at the top of your list. And third is Nishkamta. Nishkamta means selflessness, not a business transaction with God at that point. Okay, we can take remaining hands real quick. Hope that answered, Lakshmiji. Yeah, thank you.
Suryaprakash ji, Radhe Radhe.
Radha Radha, regarding this working means getting happiness while working, motivating the students, getting the jobs to the students. Will it not means near to the God?
Now, these are all good, noble, well-directed, well-intended tasks. But we have to bring God into the equation, because if we keep on adding zeros without the one as the God, so you can help students. It's like, thank you, God, for giving me this opportunity where I can help people on their path. If you're bringing God into the equation, yes. If you are thinking, I am doing it, I'm so-and-so, then it is not. So again, it's a consciousness thing. God is not asking us for some big thing. All he's asking is tweak your consciousness. That's pretty much it.
It's okay.
That is again an opportunity, right? God has given us to be his instrument or be his employee indirectly. So we express gratitude to God and do it as a service to him, not as a ego massage exercise at that point, because we'll get opportunities, right, where God may pick us up as his instrument from time to time to get some work done. So that expression of gratitude and keeping that at the back of our mind is important. That consciousness will start making all the difference.
Thank you.
All right, couple more.
We have a chart from Champaji.
Sure.
Shall we go through it? It says, go through all the above vasanas shown on the screen by practicing Nishkam Karma. Going through life without attachment to results of goals will give happiness.
Very true. Very true. It's in giving one receives, right? That's a law of the universe. We think it's in hoarding, we'll get happiness, but it's just the opposite. It's in giving, you shall receive, right? That is how the universe is designed, right? And God, whatever you offer him, he's not stingy or miserly like Swamiji so beautifully says, right? He will multiply and give it back to you. That is his rule. So offer your karmas, good karmas. Don't start offering your bad karmas. We spoke about that concept as well. Great point. Yes, Sandhya, you had a question.
Radhe, Radhe.
Yeah, I just wanted to add, like even following religious rituals without having the right consciousness will make us rotate in the 8. And even spiritual entertainment, like say if we do not have a guru and we are trying to pursue spirituality on our own, even that will also make us
beautiful point.
Yeah.
In fact, this is going to be a topic of discussion maybe tomorrow or day after, the difference between the ritualistic Raganuga Bhakti and not the ritualistic, sorry, ritualistic is Vaidhi Bhakti versus Raganuga Bhakti. We are going to discuss it in great detail, because a lot of people, they get confused around that, right? How should we approach it, and what is a means to an end, and what is an end, and doing the fasting and all those questions, we'll tackle that as part of that discussion. It's a very important topic. This difference between Raganuga and the Vaidhi Bhakti. What is Vidhi and Nished as per our scriptures, right? Do's and don'ts. And we'll get into that topic as well. Just to simplify this, just for your reference, in Raganuga Bhakti, we'll get more into that detail later. There is only one Vidhi and one Nished. Vidhi means something that you're supposed to do. Nished means something that you're not supposed to do. So Vidhi in Raganuga Bhakti is do anything that takes you closer to God or will help you develop love for God. Simple rule. What is Nished? Don't do anything that takes you away from God or do not help you progress or develop love for God. Very simple yardstick. So we should do it fearlessly. Vaidhi Bhakti would tell you, wake up, take your bath, purify your body, and do your Sandhya Vandan and all that stuff. What if you are sick? Will you not do it? You will still do it in Raganuga Bhakti. Because that's just a means to enable something. And if you have started loving God and figured out tools, tricks, and your own triggers around loving God, you're already serving the purpose of Vedas. Vedas are not going to trouble you. Karam Kand, you can just throw it away at that point. Swamiji and Maharajji tells us so beautifully, right? Fearlessly you can do that. Otherwise, it's a wild goose chase. You start getting into rituals and all. Okay, yes, Monica ji, you had a question too.
Monica ji, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe, Monica ji.
Radhe Radhe. So, I don't know how to frame this question, but let's say, there are people who do charity thinking that this will take them closer to God, or it will give them moksha. So is it individuals' responsibility to understand these concepts, or is there a calling?
It is individuals' responsibility to understand this concept, because ignorance is not a bliss. Right? This is what says. So, Brahma Sutra, Vedvyas has said, Athato Brahma Jigyasa. Oh humans, because you have gotten a human birth, right? And God has endowed you with intellect, understand who is God, understand the rules, and then play in accordance with that, right? And understand the purpose of life. Now, the fire, I'll give you an example. Fire, there's a fire in front, right? Now, whether you put your hand knowingly, or if somebody puts it in ignorance, will it stop doing its work? It will not. So if you are doing charity, which is a good thing. However, if you are doing it with an ignorance attitude, you don't understand the science of charity, it will give you the result that it is supposed to give. For example, I'll tell you, it goes much deeper when we get into that chapter. It talks about charities also of 3 types. Some people do charity to convert their black money into white money, right? 500 rupee notes, when the demonetization thing happened, were found in abundance in all the temples. That is called tamasic charity. Or a lot of people who collect hafta, right? Bhais, and people go and donate money to that local don. That is tamasic charity. Then there is rajasic charity, where people build temples and say, put my name on the marble. That is called a rajasic charity. Like Birla temples are built. I don't know. I'm not nobody to question their intention, but if you are doing it for name, fame, or something like that, it becomes a rajasic. And then there is sattvic charity, which you are doing for a noble cause, basically. But then you are not parting with the sense of doership. That is called sattvic charity. All 3 have their own results. You go to celestial abodes, you continue to repeat here, or you go to nether hellish abodes. But if you do charity, keeping God in mind, then you are getting Shuddha Sattva, transcendental charity. That is the intention that will make the entire difference. Also, the patra also matters. So let's say you do a charity to a drug addict, and after that he goes and takes drugs and kills somebody, you also incur part of that sin. So it is a very little, dizzy, but ignorance is not a bliss. That's what our scriptures tell us. We have to understand the science behind it, and that is why what the expectation is when we become human, because we only have this faculty of intellect to get the right knowledge and exercise our free will in accordance with the injunctions of the scriptures. Hope I answer your question.
Yes, thank you.
Pleasure to have you on the session, Monica ji. Back to back. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Any more questions? So anybody who thinks that, no, by the way, we can extract happiness from one of these things, or we don't agree that any of these activities, or maybe something that you think is not in this list, is going to take you out of the circle of life and death, or you have a reason to believe. Like Maharajji says beautifully, he says that even a person will gamble in life. Bade log satta khel jate hain, right? We gamble. So why don't you gamble on God for a change? World is anyway waiting for you. Right? World is not running away. Your parents, your relatives, all the potlucks, or your tourism, that is anyway available, right? As a default de facto plan. So why don't you gamble on God for a change and see what happens? That's a very powerful statement. But we are not intellectually convinced. We still think these things are, because the whole world around us is bombarding us with all these messages. let's do it. This is where, and then nice pictures they will post everywhere, and they say, wow, these people seem to be happy. But scriptures tell us, come on, everybody's struggling in life, okay? They cannot get past all the struggles. So understand it and start directing your efforts towards the direction that takes you closer to the goal of life. And the natural consequence of that would be more peace, more clarity, more joy, more bliss, and more self-confidence in facing life, as opposed to being second-guessing yourself around anything and everything. Yes, Samji, maybe the last question, and then we get into the announcements.
Radhe Radhe. Nitinji, please tell me, how can I gamble with God?
How can you gamble with God? By start aligning to the principles. When he says, take my name, fill your blanks of your day by my remembrance, try to remember me as frequently you can. Okay, do your ekant sadhana, give up the fruits of your action, practice non-doership, these principles. So just aligning to the principle that Lord Krishna is telling us is basically gambling on God, because we are putting trust on it. We said, okay, Krishna, we trust you. What you said, I'm going to experiment with it like anything other in life. And if I fail, the world is anyway waiting for me. So I'm going to give it a good run and see what happens.
Okay. Can I share my experience here? Can I share my thoughts here?
Please, it will be our extreme pleasure to hear your thoughts.
On gambling, as I told you earlier also, for the past 12 years, I was in a very good state, perfect materially. And I think I was boasting is all done by me. I think so. But God gave such a U-turn to me that everything was down to earth. So still I was not there. Full cycle. And I'll tell you, in just 10 years, I went from A to Z. Trust you me. And for the past 2 years, I guess 3 years, I thought, it's okay, all done. So let's leave everything to God. And trust you me, bhai, for the past 3 years or 4 years, I do not know what I am doing, how I am doing, how I'm surviving. And nothing has stopped. Neither my expenses, nor my way of living has changed. Nothing has changed. And I am not even thinking I'm doing it or I have to do it. I am saying not doing, I'm saying I have. There is no have in my life now. And things are coming back on track, slowly, gradually. And I am, trust me, I am making no effort in doing such things. No effort whatsoever. I have just told Krishna, भैया, it's तुम्हारी मर्जी है, जो करना है कर लो. मैं तो जो करना था, मैं कर चुका हूँ. I have done my bit, done my part, but it couldn't help me.
Wonderful.
I started from zero, went to zero. So, and just 10 years, right? Just 10 years. And now I said, ठीक है, जो करना है, जैसे करना है, all your wish, all your thoughts, and I'm with you. And the past 3 years, things are so streamlined. And I have one work stuck for last 12 years. It happened last month. And no effort of mine, no effort whatsoever. And things are really streamlined. So this gamble I've played, and I play on YouTube Krishna's mantras. And now for the past 1 year, YouTube is only showing me Krishna, nothing else. That's a bit design, I'm sure. But still, nothing beyond him. So I listen to his bhajans. I don't get bored even. Initially, I used to get bored. Yeah, voice Subha, Sham, Radha, Krishna. But now, my mind is so tuned, I just can't even think beyond him. Great. Whether it is Vira Bhav or Madhurya Bhav, any song comes of Krishna bhajan, I am into it. And I don't even know what's happening outside that. That's my point. And that's the gamble you play.
No, that's good. And I've seen you playing this gamble for the last 2 years with us as well, right? And hopefully that is paying off as well. So
it is.
Keep it up. Keep it up. We'll continue with this Bhav discussion tomorrow. We'll get really deep into that. Let's take Champaji. I wanted to hear that. I've seen her hand after a long time. And then Ankurji, real quick, we can take that. And then we have a hard stop at 10. So we can maybe pick up a couple of more hands. Thank you, Sham.
I'll be very quick. I completely agree with Shamji, and even though I belong to a very traditional religious family, they're not only religious, they practice spirituality. Till I attained the age of 60, I had no time for anything other than earning and raising the family. After retirement, I turned to spirituality, and I feel that you have to just keep one step. The remaining 100 steps, actually, the God is only carrying you.
Very true.
And I just started with one round of Hare Krishna Maha Mantra chanting. And naturally I was a great movie goer and watching television and all that. All the other things drops by itself. From past 3 years, I'm with JK Yoke, and literally my TV is sleeping. All the time I'm with my iPad listening to this class, that class, and everything. Actually, we have to just gamble, means one gamble is enough. The rest, I think the God will take care. And recently I had gone with my daughter. We celebrated my grandson's Upanayana. We wanted to show his horoscope. And that time, that my family astrologer told me that I'm going through that Sade Sati, 7 years of Saturn influence. And I was surprised because from past 5 years, I don't have any difficulty at all in my life. Even my daughter said that, no, my mother is not having any problem. Then he said that is because she is chanting. She's believing in the power of God. So I think all of us must take this gamble. Sorry, I might have taken a long time.
No. I think they were very good insights, and thank you for sharing that. That is very true. Narad Bhakti Darshan says that, thank you, Radhe Radhe, Champaji. It says that the proof is in the pudding. You taste it and it will tell you, like salt tells the taste of the food. That is how powerful bhakti and devotion this path is. It will tell you you're on the right track just by your experience. Great. Last one, Ankuji, we have 3 more minutes. So real quick, maybe a couple of minutes, and then we'll wrap up our session.
Radhe Radhe, Nitinji, Radhe Radhe, everyone. Nitinji, just correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, what I understood by this was maybe whatever is there in the slide, we have to go by everything since we're in the material world. And, we just have to practice maybe, play in accordance with God and, part our senses of doership. Is it the totality of it?
We can have an offline discussion more, yes. That is part of it as well. But yeah, the whole thing is live in the world. Don't let the world live in you. Just like a boat navigates through an ocean, or snakes, when they are around the sandalwood does not take the poison of the snake inside it, right? So the world is a veritable form of God. What problem happens when we get attached to it? I need this, or I'll be happy if I get it, and I'll be sad if I don't get it, right? And I'm the doer. So all these principles, they go hand in hand. So you just build a consciousness of God. Karam Yoga is a great way to practice, and that is why Karam Yoga is what? I mean, if I were to explain it in simple senses, it is purifying your intentions. And how can you purify your intention? When you are actually thinking about something pure and offering it to it, and which is only God. So everything, when we start doing it for the pleasure of God, that I'm doing it for myself, that thing starts going away. And automatically you are building that consciousness that is needed for you to evolve spiritually. But we can continue this discussion offline. We had limited time. So any quick announcements, Sandhya, we had? I know we've run out of time today. We have a hard stop at 10 for the book club. Anything we wanted to really quickly announce, or we are good?
We are good. We have the Swamiji's India tour starting from November 18th in Puri. Then we have Banara tour from December 25th. And then we have the daily satsang for Swamiji on November 25th. And then we have the Diwali festival going on in RKT Dallas from October 21st. We are lighting 11,111 diyas.
Yeah, I can talk about that.
Yeah.
Sure. So Diwali, you can check it out. I think YouTube link, you can check it out on RKT thing. And if you're in or around Dallas, please make it a point to come. So wonderful events coming up. So thank you, Shyam Bhai, for that. I know it's 10 o'clock, so we have a hard stop. Wish you a wonderful day ahead. Great rest of your evening. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow, and we will continue on our discussion of the spiritual rasas. We have just spoken about material, but it's important to conclude that conversation to looking at the other side of it. So thank you again. Radhe Radhe. Have a wonderful day. Great rest of your evening. I'll see you tomorrow.
Thank you all. Radhe Radhe. Over to you, Sunil Bhai and Ajay Bhai.